Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohana. Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahavan.
Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahavan.
Keshi Gata Bangshi Bata Raja Shakanana Jaha Shabalila Toilo Srinanda Nandan.
Ishigata Vamsi Vata Radha Sakana Jaha Shabalila Toilo Srinanda Nanda.
Srinanda Jasoda Jaya Jaya Gopagan Sridamadi Jaya Jaya Denu Vatsagan.
Srinanda Jashoda Jaya Jaya Gopagan Srinamani Jaya Jaya Denu Vasagan.
Jaya Vrishabhanu Jaya Kirtira Sundari Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Abhira Nagari.
Jaya Vrishabhanu Jaya Kirtida Sundari Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Abhira Nagari.
Jaya Jaya Gopishara Vrindavanamad Jaya Jaya Krishna Sakha Batu Dijara.
Jaya Jaya Gopishvara Vrindavanamad Jaya Jaya Krishna Sakha Bhaktu Vijaya.
Jaya Rama Gatha Jaya Rohini Nandana Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Basi Jata Jan.
Jaya Rama Gatha Jaya Rohini Nandana Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Basi Jata Jan.
Jaya Dvija Patni Jaya Naga Kanyaga Bhakti Teja Hara Pailo Govinda Charan.
Jaya Vrijapati Jaya Nagakanyaga Bhakti Teja Hara Pailo Govinda Charan.
rasalila sarva manoram.
Sri Rasa Mandala Jaya Jaya Radha Shyama Jaya Jaya Rasa Leela Sarva Manoram.
Jaya Jaya Jala Rasa Sarva Rasa Parakiya Bhave Jaha Brajete Prachar.
Jaya Jaya Jala Rasa Sarva Rasa Parakiya Bhaveya Prajate Prachar.
Srijana Vapada Padma Puriya Smarana Dina Krishna Dasa Kori Nama Sankirtan.
Srijana Vapada Padma Puriya Smarana Dina Krishna Dasa Kori Nama Sankirtan.
Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavana Sri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohan.
Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohan.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasudeva Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Govinda.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare, Hare Krishna. I have great pleasure to welcome all participants for today's session. We are completing the 4th chapter, Transcendental Knowledge, today. So before we enter the subject, let us all chant the Mangalacharanam prayers and invoke auspiciousness and blessings of the Guru Parampara and the Lordships Radha Krishna to facilitate our learning process, because this is a completely new kind of knowledge, new kind of science for all of us. So without the mercy of the Parampara, we may not be able to understand this knowledge the way it is intended to be understood. So let us chant the Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuda Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रा सुभद्राभ्यां श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। सर्वोपनिषतो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनंदनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्कयिते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं। Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tatsat. Hare Krishna. So chapter 4 is transcendental knowledge, purification through knowledge. That means purification means we understand who we really are. That is the knowledge. This knowledge will help us to understand who we really are, what is our true nature, what is our connection with the Supreme Lord. All these clarities will emerge from this transcendental knowledge. So let us have a short review of what we have done. I will ask questions, very simple questions. Please feel free to answer them. Who is the speaker of Gita and who is the audience? Short answers. Actually, more than one answer is possible for these questions. So you can try freely. Who is the speaker of Gita and who is the audience? Yes, Sujit Prabhu.
Speaker Shri Krishna, Bhagwan Shri Krishna.
Yes.
And the audience is Arjun, Sanjay, and Dhritarashtra.
Yes. Can you expand that further?
On the battlefield, the questions and the doubts were there in Arjuna's mind, and
Yes.
Shri Krishna was trying to explain him and ask him to fight the righteous battle, Dharma Yudh.
Yes.
But Sanjay had been given a special power that he could directly from the palace, he could see Hastinapur, he could see what was happening between Lord Shri Krishna and Arjun, and he was relaying it. He was exactly word by word. He was exactly conveying everything to Dhritarashtra.
Yeah.
So that way.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. So that is perfect. Gita was spoken by Lord Krishna for Arjun, but there were a few other people who were also privy to the conversation. But today, all of us are hearing that. And that was the true intention of Lord Krishna, that using Arjun as an instrument, nimitta, he was speaking to all of us. But why should Krishna speak to all of us? Because he is the Supreme Lord. He is the master of all of us. We are all his servants and he is our master. So because we have forgotten us, he wants to remind us what is our true relationship with him, who we are and who is Krishna. So he personally comes and talks as though he's talking to Arjun, but he's talking to all of us. Next question, why was it spoken? Anyone else would like to try? I don't see any other hand going up. Yes, Kali Kumar Ghosh Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu Dandavot Pranam.
Hello,
Primarily, this was spoken by Sri Krishna to Arjuna to convince him why he should fight to win this Dharma Yuddha. And secondarily, this knowledge was forgotten for a long time.
Yes.
It was originally spoken to Vivaswan,
Yes.
and this parampara was disconnected, it was lost.
Beautiful.
So
Thank
to
you.
revive that for all of us.
That is what I was looking for. Thank you. So basically, Gita was spoken to dispel the ignorance in the heart of Arjuna. It is only ignorance that is creating confusion in our minds. What should I do? What should I not do? What kind of results do I want? What kind of results do I not want? Confusion arises because of ignorance. So Krishna spoke to remove the ignorance in the heart of Arjuna so that he could perform his duty perfectly without any attachment to the results for the pleasure of Krishna. So that is the same message that we are also supposed to take from Gita. He is speaking to us also for the same reasons to give us this knowledge. Thank you. When was it spoken? Hare Krishna. Yes, Mohandas Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it was spoken in the Kurukshetra war, during the war.
Yes.
When the Arjuna fell down,
Yes.
and in a bewildered mind,
Yes.
and to only to educate the Arjuna
Yes.
that he is not the body and he is the soul.
Yes.
Not to bother about the opponents, his grandfather or whatever may be the relatives.
Thank you, Mohandas Prabhu.
Much
So
over.
that's perfect. So it was spoken 5,000 years ago
Right, those-
to Arjun. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. But in the same conversation, Krishna says, I spoke it to sun god Vivaswan. I personally spoke it to sun god Vivaswan. And then he spoke it to his son Manu, and then he to his son Ikshvaku, like that in a parampara of kingly Raja Rishis. This knowledge was transmitted from time immemorial. To the sun god Krishna spoke. So, in one sense, yes, 5,000 years ago. But 5,000 years ago, Krishna was giving it again because Sakale Neka Mahata Yogo Nashta Parantapa. This knowledge had been lost by the passage of time. So, there was a need to reinvent the parampara. And through Arjun, who is a pure devotee and a friend, Krishna is doing that. So, when was it spoken? 5,000 years ago. But it was not being spoken for the first time. Gita knowledge is without any time limit. It has been there always. Okay. Where was it spoken? Hare Krishna. Let us make it fast so we have a little more time for discussions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, on
Yes,
the
ma'am.
battlefield of Kurukshetra war.
Yes. So it happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a little southwest of Delhi, I guess. So that is the Kurukshetra. You can still see as you cross Panipat, you will come across this Kurukshetra. That is the place where it was spoken. But it was also spoken to Vivaswan, and we don't know where it was spoken. It was spoken maybe in a heavenly planet. So this Gita knowledge is not only for this material world, this world where we live. It is meant for the entire material creation. So this knowledge is also available throughout creation. Not that it is only confined to this planet or even confined to only this landmass called India. It's not like that. We should not try to limit Bhagavad Gita to a particular audience, to a particular landmass, or to a particular generation. It's not like that. So we have to see Gita in multiple dimensions. So Shankaracharya says, Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Geetam. He says there is one Shastra for the whole creation. That is Devaki Putra Geetam Bhagavad Gita. So that way we have to understand the larger appeal of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. In this connection, who are fortunate souls? Hare Krishna. Yes, Sajid Jana Prabhu.
Those who know that Vasudev is the ultimate truth.
So one should receive the message what Krishna is conveying through Gita. What is the message Krishna is conveying? He is giving knowledge of himself. So those who are able to understand that the purpose of Gita is to know Krishna. The purpose of Vedas is to know Krishna. And Gita is the condensed essence of the Vedas. So basically Gita knowledge is knowledge of Krishna. So those who get the knowledge of Krishna through Gita, they are the fortunate souls. Those who get trapped in so many complex issues of philosophy in the Bhagavad Gita, but they don't come to know about Krishna. It happens all the time. So who are the unfortunate souls? Hare Krishna. Well, so unfortunate souls are those who are born in this age and time when Bhagavad Gita is freely available to everyone in every language of the world, and there are devotees going around everywhere trying to transfer this message from Krishna to everyone and to teach them the process of Bhakti Yoga, which is the highest knowledge. But those who still don't develop sufficient faith and start practicing it, they are the unfortunate souls. It is going everywhere. It has become everywhere available. But still, if people miss it or don't have faith to pick it up, they are the most unfortunate souls. Because you cannot expect something better than this. We are living in an age and time when Gita is really respected throughout the world. And it is also easily available. And there are so many teachers available. This has been the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that so many people are there around the world trying selflessly to teach the message of Bhagavad Gita. So this Kali Yuga, we are flooded with this spiritual knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. But still, if somebody doesn't get it and somebody doesn't have faith in it, they are the unfortunate souls. So what is true knowledge and what is not? Can you try? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. True knowledge is knowing about Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
And what is not true knowledge is the materialistic knowledge, Prabhuji.
Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect. I would just expand on it a little bit. True knowledge is that which transforms you. You should no longer be the same person. After understanding Vasudeva Sarvamiti, after understanding everything is Krishna, whether it is animate or inanimate, whether I can see it or not see it, whatever exists in the past, present, future, everything is Vasudeva Krishna. And then with that knowledge, completely transform the way we live and start living as a service to Krishna. Make yourself as an offering to Krishna. That kind of transformation is true knowledge. If it remains as information, which you may trust, may not trust, it doesn't make any change in your consciousness. It doesn't bring about any modification of your behavior or your thinking process. Then it is not knowledge. So we have to move towards true knowledge, means we need to get transformation. So thank you. So let us now go into today's class. So today we are going to complete the chapter. We are starting from shloka number 31. Nayam lokosti ayajnasya kutonya kurusattama. So Krishna is addressing Arjuna, Kurusattama, the best of the Kuru dynasty. And he is telling, without sacrifice, no happy life is possible either in this lifetime or in the next lifetime, or in this world or in the heavenly planets. There is no happiness possible. Whether you are in this lifetime or in the next lifetime, you cannot get happiness. What to speak about in the other planets? If you go into the heavenly planets, there is no happiness for you. Only sacrifice is the way for happiness. Now, what is this? The question may arise in our mind because we are not still very familiar with this term, sacrifice or yajna, even though we have already gone through a lot of explanations of what is yajna. In fact, in the last class, we saw every kind of activity to be a yajna, provided the motive is right. What is that motive? For getting a better result in future, you have to sacrifice something now. Immediate sense gratification is what we sacrifice in order to get a better benefit in the future. That requires faith. So that faith is also called knowledge. In the early stages, this is called Shraddha or faith. But as you advance, that Shraddha is transformed into knowledge, knowing. See, somebody has not seen Mount Everest, so they have but faith. Yes, Mount Everest exists. But someone who has actually been there, for him it is no longer a matter of faith. He has actually seen and experienced Everest. So this person is taking the knowledge on the basis of somebody telling him by having faith in those words. But the other person has actually seen and experienced it. For him, it is no longer called Shraddha. For him, it is actual knowledge. In a similar way, we have to start the process of sacrifice, keeping faith in the process. What is the sacrifice? Control of the mind, control of the senses, giving your material possessions in charity, observing penances and tapasya, reading the scriptures, or actually performing fire sacrifices, for the pleasure of devatas or for the Brahman. How the householder performs sacrifices by leading a controlled, regulated life. How a brahmachari performs yajna by controlling his senses and absorbing himself in scriptural studies. So we saw all these are sacrifices. So ultimately, if one doesn't do sacrifice, in this world also we cannot be happy. For example, today I sacrifice my sense gratification so that tomorrow I can have a better job or a better salary or a better family life. Because today I am applying myself to my studies. For my promotion, I am working hard, or I am working hard in my office. Different ways, I am sacrificing immediate happiness in the form of sense gratification so that I can have higher happiness in the future. But that requires faith. If I work now, I can enjoy tomorrow. That requires faith. And unfortunately, increasingly the people of modern age are lacking that faith. Why? Because the entire society is organized around instant sense gratification. Just do it. We are encouraging people that don't think about consequences. There are no consequences. You live only once. While you are here, try to enjoy as much as possible. And when you die, who knows? There is nothing, nirvana, shunya. So don't worry about any consequences. So in this kind of environment, how can anyone develop faith? And when faith is lacking, sacrifice is not possible. So Krishna is telling clearly, if you do not perform sacrifice, you cannot be happy in this world or in the next. So one has to start performing sacrifices. For that he needs faith. That is a starting point. Next shloka. Evam bahuvidha yajna vitatha brahmano mukhe karmajan viddhitan sarvan evam jnatva vimokshase. So here, all these different sacrifices are coming from where? From the Vedas. You see the word Brahmano Mukhe. That means it is coming from the Vedas. All the sacrifices are described in the Vedas. We saw in the last session, Dravyamaya Yajna, using material things for performing Yajna. Like in a fire sacrifice, you are putting all kinds of things into the fire. They are all matter, like ghee or firewood or different kinds of oshadis, herbs and things like that. They are all Dravyamaya Yajna. Then there is also Jnanamaya Yajna, where you are controlling your senses and absorbing in the studies of the scriptures, like that they become Jnanamaya Yajna. So all these sacrifices are coming from scriptures only. If you think of some sacrifice on your own imagination, which is not in the Vedas, that will lead only to ignorance. Like somebody observes a fast, saying, for political reasons, I want the government to pass this law immediately. If the government doesn't pass this law, or if the government does not withdraw this law, I will fast unto death. That is a sacrifice, right? Fasting is a sacrifice, but that is in ignorance, because it is not approved in the Shastras that you trouble your body for attaining a political end. That kind of satyagraha is not Vedic, and that will produce only ignorance. So if you want to dispel ignorance and you get true knowledge, you should practice the sacrifices recommended in the Vedas, not anything else. So this is important. Sacrifices, you remember in a previous class we saw, all sacrifices have been given in the Vedas, right? And the Vedas came from Supreme Lord. From the Supreme Lord, Vedas came. From the Vedas, regulated life, duties in the form of sacrifices came. And by performing sacrifice, we get rain. And because of rain, we get grains. And by eating grains, our bodies are nourished. So in this way, whatever we get by the mercy of the Devatas, we return it to them in the form of sacrifice. If we don't do that, we are called thieves. I hope you remember all these lessons we have learned already. So now it is reiterated that sacrifice comes from Vedas only, and Vedas come from the Supreme Lord. So any kind of dharma has to come from God, not because our democratic government has passed a law, then that has become, a form of regulated life. No, regulated life means following the instructions of the Vedas, which are the words of God. So, check 33. Shreyan dravyamaya yajnat jnana yajnat param tapah sarvam karma akhilam partha jnane parisamapyate. So here you see very important message Krishna is saying. Sacrifice in knowledge is superior to mere sacrifice of possessions. So I hope you can understand what is being told. Sometimes, people perform charity. Somebody has a lot of wealth. Sometimes they even throw currency notes on the streets. Or whenever they see some poor person, they give some currency notes. Or they like to feed thousands of people, annadan. Or they like to build up charity hospitals or charity schools. Things like the various kinds of charities they do. But they do that only to get some punya. And the punya, they will know that I can get a better birth in the next life. I can become a wealthier man, more handsome man, healthier man. I can get long life. I can have a happily family life, or I will go to heaven and enjoy. So in this case, it is all material sacrifice. This is inferior, Krishna says. Even though you may perform a yajna at a cost of 100 crores, huge yajna, huge fire pits on which you are dropping silk sarees and costly ornaments and things like that, but still they are dravyamaya yajna, if the objective is to get some material benefit. So Krishna says that is the inferior yajna. What is superior yajna? It is performed in knowledge. That means I am doing the sacrifice to attract the mercy of the Lord. I want the Lord's mercy to be attracted. I want to get true wisdom by performing this sacrifice. That is the goal. I want to know God. I want to know myself, self-realization. With that objective, if we perform a sacrifice, that is sacrifice in knowledge. So Krishna is clarifying that sacrifice in knowledge is superior to sacrifice of dravya, mere material. Matter is being dropped into fire. That is an inferior kind of yajna. But if you learn to do yajna in a nishkamya way, without trying to experience the results for yourself, then it will lead to jnana. It will lead to higher knowledge. So here Krishna concludes, the purpose of all sacrifices is to get jnana. That means I am not the body, I am a spirit soul, and I am eternal. That is the aim of getting, the aim of doing all sacrifices. So here in the picture we see, you may know the story of King Shibi. He was one of the ancestors of Lord Ram. So he sacrificed his own body to settle the dispute between a pigeon and a hawk. The hawk wanted to eat the pigeon, but the pigeon took shelter of the king. So the king said, I will give equal weight of flesh to the pigeon. So you eat my body, leave the pigeon because it is taken by shelter. So like that, this is a yajna. He is willing to surrender his whole body. That is the duty of a king. He is performing the duty of a king to give protection to his citizens. Today, the government allows cows to be killed, bulls to be killed, all kinds of goats and pigs and chicken to be killed. They think they are not my citizens. I have no duty. But here is a story. One single pigeon takes the shelter of King Sibi, and for giving shelter to that pigeon, because it is his duty, he has no option actually. And the king realizes that. And then he cuts his own body and puts it on a scale to give equal weight. Ultimately, he has to sit on the scale himself because the pigeon is so heavy. So they were testing him. So this way, ultimately, even though we see variety of sacrifices, we should not become confused. We should not become confused. The aim of all sacrifices is to get jnana. Otherwise, it is not very useful. Then we go to shloka number 34. This is a very, very important shloka. Please memorize this. This is the root of Krishna consciousness. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. How to learn the truth. So if you want to know, if you feel I am still confused, Krishna, you are talking about sacrifice in knowledge, sacrifice of material possessions. I don't understand. To me, all sacrifice is sacrifice. Why you want to differentiate between these things? I am very confused about what you are talking. Then Krishna says, if you lack clarity, then you have to approach a spiritual master to learn the truth. Only a spiritual master can give you the truth. And what you have to do? You have to go to the spiritual master and submissively surrender to him and render services to him, and then ask him your questions. So, first you have to recognize your spiritual master and acknowledge that he knows the truth. The spiritual master knows the truth. I will surrender to him and I will serve him and I will submissively question him. And then he will impart the knowledge to me because he has already seen the truth. Tattva darshinaha. In this shloka, you see the word Tattva darshinaha. Tattva darshinaha means ones who have seen the truth. So they are the spiritual masters. So in this picture, you see Krishna Balaram, they are also going to a spiritual master. Lord Ramchandra, he also went to spiritual master. Here we see Shandipani Muni and Ramchandra's case, Lord Vasishta, sage Vasishta, he was a Acharya. So even when Supreme Lord incarnates in this planet, he doesn't need any guru, but still he takes a guru every time to show us, to educate us that spiritual knowledge is impossible without accepting a spiritual master. And what is the mood of accepting a spiritual master? That is explained here. You have to approach a person who has seen the truth, self-realized soul, self-realized, God-realized soul. We have to approach submissively, serve him, and then inquire from him. They will reveal the truth to you. So it is not possible by our own efforts to know the truth. The truth is lying hidden in the heart of self-realized souls. You have to get it from them only. That means it's a descending knowledge. From God, it comes down in a descending path. So the self-realized souls are the receptacles of this knowledge. They are the repositories of this knowledge. From them, you have to get it. How to get it? You have to humbly approach them. And when they are satisfied that you are a sincere seeker, they will give it to you. They have no they have no desire for anything from you. But unless you are qualified, they will not give it to you. And how they will see your quality? By your submissive nature and your willingness to render service. So that is 34th shloka. Please memorize this. 35. Yajnatvana punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutanya sheshani drakshyasi atmani yato mayi. So Krishna is telling, once you get this knowledge from a self-realized soul, then I guarantee you will never fall into material illusion again. Because once you get this knowledge from your spiritual master, then you will see all living entities as part of me. All living entities, all the souls are part of me. Whatever forms you see around you, you will see God in them. Every living entity is moving and doing things only because of the presence of Paramatma within. And once you see the same Paramatma in all living entities, then you have got true knowledge. After that, you will never fall into illusion. What is my duty? What is not my duty? The confusion will go away. You will realize I am simply a servant of Krishna and I have to serve everyone in that mood. That Krishna is in the heart of everyone. When I serve everyone, I am actually serving Krishna. That mood will come. So Krishna says, once you get this knowledge, no further falling down. 36. Api chedasi papebhya sarvebhya papakrittamah sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. Amazing statement Krishna is making. Even if you have committed the worst sins, but when you get this transcendental knowledge, then you will cross the ocean of miseries. This material world is the ocean of miseries. By using this knowledge as boat. This transcendental knowledge becomes your boat of knowledge. On that, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. The ocean of miseries means ocean of ignorance. Only misery comes from ignorance. That's all. Where ignorance is not there, misery is not there. Misery comes from a blinded intelligence. That is the only cause of miseries. So once you get transcendental knowledge, that becomes your bridge, that becomes the boat, and you can cross over the miseries very easily. And Krishna says, even if you are the most sinful man, how is it possible? Then what about the reactions to my sins? What is that question will arise? We are always thinking karma is very powerful. Whatever I have done, I have to pay the price for it. Good and bad, punya, papa, I have to experience the results of that. But Krishna is contradicting that. Krishna is saying, once you have this transcendental knowledge, then you will no longer drown in the misery, in the ocean of misery, but you will cross it with This knowledge has both. So how is it possible? Let us go to 37. Yataidamsi samidhognir bhasmasat kurute Arjuna jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. How a blazing fire burns down dry wood, in a similar way, the fire of knowledge burns down the reactions to karma. We talk about prarabdha karma, aprarabdha karma, sanjita karma, akamya karma. We talk about karma in so many ways. All this karma gets destroyed. There is no more suffering for a person who is in true knowledge. As I already explained, true knowledge means transformation, not information. Just by reading Bhagavad Gita, will I get true knowledge? No, because Bhagavad Gita is a practical book. I have to implement the knowledge in my life, and then I get the transformation. And once the transformation happens, the fire of knowledge has burnt down the dry wood of karmic reactions in you. You no longer suffer. Actually, this is what Jesus Christ wanted to convey to the Christians to whom he was preaching. But unfortunately, Jesus had to admit, you people, I have so much more to tell you, but you cannot understand. So I am withholding all that knowledge. Jesus said that, and it's still somehow in the Bible. Jesus said, much more I want to tell you, but you won't understand. Why they won't understand? Please understand this point. Because there is no varnashrama in the land where Jesus was born. Unless varnashrama is there, the population cannot advance systematically in spiritual knowledge. Only varnashrama can produce that spiritual knowledge. It will evolve in the society. But without that, simply you cannot have that evolution. So unfortunately, Jesus had to preach to fishermen who are ignorant people. So Jesus had to only say this. Otherwise, many times we talk about forgiveness, right? Jesus Christ forgives the sins. And actually, he died on the cross for our future sins. That's how they explain, because this is the limited understanding they have. They think for all the humanity that will be born in future and whatever sins they will commit, Jesus has already shed his blood. So for a Christian only, that too, Jesus shed blood only for Christians, not for non-Christians. Non-Christians, Jesus doesn't care. For Christians, he has already shed his blood. Very, very limited, narrow understanding. This shows clearly that the people who came after Jesus Christ, they did not have sufficient spiritual intelligence. So they simply say, you give some donation and you confess your sin in a dark room. In a dark room, and then your sins are all forgiven. That's not what is meant. Your sins are forgiven when you are in full transcendental knowledge. When you are in full transcendental knowledge, the reactions of your karma are burnt down. That means no more suffering, no more sin for you. I hope you understand the difference between what the Christians are teaching and what Bhagavad Gita is teaching. They are teaching the same thing, but they are understood differently. So when a person feels sorry for his sins, when does that happen? Only when the person comes into true knowledge. Then your sins are automatically forgiven. If you are in true knowledge, I am a servant of God, then all your past sins are destroyed. So very, very important for us to know. 38. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalena atmani vindati. So transcendental knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. It is the purest and most sublime wisdom. One who is accomplished in bhakti practices enjoy this knowledge within himself in course of time. So simply we have to understand, by performing these sacrifices, we are going to get transcendental knowledge. That is the aim. Transcendental knowledge is what? I am Dehi, I am not the Deha. And the Dehi is eternally the servant of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme master and all the souls are his servants. We are all his part and parcel. So our business is to serve him. That's all. So once you know this, then you enjoy within. You don't have to look for happiness outside. You enjoy within. So that is the message of Gita. How to experience happiness within. That is what we need to know. Okay. So now we come to 39. Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatpara samyatendriya jnanam labdhva param santim achirenadi gacchati. Achirenadi gacchati means very quickly. I see Suma Mataji is raising her hand again and again. Mataji, you want to say something? Hare Krishna. Okay. So, what is the eligibility? Sorry, I can't see my screen. What is the eligibility criteria for this highest knowledge? So, strong faith is needed in the words of God, strong faith. Then, strong attachment to this knowledge is needed, eagerness to get this knowledge. Then, you have to control your senses. So, please understand, today, jnana yajna is happening so many places, Gita jnana yajna, and there are banners everywhere, and people are invited. Please come, we are going to give you that jnana. But that jnana is not obtained by simply sitting in a class and listening for 1 hour, nice humor, jokes, and very intelligent presentations. That is not jnana yajna. So we have to understand, jnana yajna means you have to have strong faith first. And you should have strong attachment to get that knowledge, eagerness. And you have to control your senses. People think, I don't have to control my senses. I have to just go on listening to these lectures and then I will get the knowledge. It's not like that. To get the knowledge, controlling the senses is called sacrifice. That sacrifice is required. I have to control my senses and I should engage in the practices prescribed by Gita. Then only I will get the highest knowledge. So to get the highest knowledge, controlling the senses is essential. Whether you want to do tapasya, or whether you want to do dravyamaya yajna, or whether you want to do Vedic studies, or whether you want to observe brahmacharya, or severe penances, for everything, controlling the senses is the basic. So without controlling senses, forget about getting jnana. Forget about getting jnana. Actually, first step is to perform our duties. First step is perform our duties. Second step is perform our duties without attachment to the results. Third step is perform the duties as an offering to Lord Krishna. That's way you are getting true knowledge. Until these conditions are satisfied, knowledge cannot come. Simply by thinking I am a high IQ man, I can read books and I can understand. No, you will be cheated completely. Okay. So next question, what is the benefit of having this knowledge? What is the benefit of this knowledge? The answer is, quickly we shall attain supreme spiritual peace. Once you get this highest knowledge, you will get supreme spiritual peace. So we have to understand, knowledge is not an end in itself. The knowledge gives a higher result, which is supreme spiritual peace. So supreme spiritual peace is higher than the transcendental knowledge. We have to understand. Simply having the knowledge, I have the knowledge, but I am constantly disturbed in my mind, then you don't have the knowledge. Because the natural fruit of this knowledge is supreme spiritual peace. And Krishna says, Achirenadi gacchati. Very quickly, this knowledge will give supreme spiritual peace. Okay, so 40th sloka. Ajnascha shraddadhanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokosti naparo nasukham samshayatmanah. So Krishna is again coming back to doubting people. Because for Kali Yuga, this is very much required. That's why even though Krishna spoke 5,000 years ago, he is dedicating himself so much to discuss about ashraddadana, people who are lacking faith. Because Krishna has a lot of compassion. He wants them also to get knowledge. Unfortunately, doubting people will never get this knowledge. So the question is, what about people who are ignorant of the higher wisdom? They lack faith and have a doubting nature. What will happen to them? Answer. 3 types of people are there. First type of people, uncivilized, animal-like people. And they have no knowledge of revealed scriptures that give higher wisdom, nor do they have any faith in such scriptures. Their nature is to doubt everything. So such people will live and die like animals. And they will go into inferior births. There is no hope for them. They will go into darker and darker regions of existence. Or they may go to hell and suffer for a long time. Because they are like animal only. 2-legged animal. They have no faith. They have no idea that there are scriptures. Even if it is told to them, they don't believe that there can be a higher wisdom than what our material scientists can give. They have no faith. They doubt. They think, oh, all these spiritual people, they have no idea. we are advancing our knowledge. They are from the dark ages. They have no idea. They think like that. So they cannot get this knowledge. Secondly, some people have knowledge of scriptures. They have even memorized the scriptures, but still they don't have faith. They may appear like devotees because they know if I can quote from Bhagavad Gita, I will get a lot of respect. And I may also get a lot of money and positions. So they have knowledge of Gita. And they can even recite. They can give classes. 1,000 people can come and sit in those classes to listen to them. But the speaker himself has no faith in what he is speaking. Speaker is speaking Gita, but is expecting money or name and fame, position. So they are the second kind of people. Third kind of people, even though they believe in scripture like Bhagavad Gita, but still they don't believe Krishna is God. They don't believe that God has a form. So all these three types of people are in deep ignorance. Deep ignorance. And for them, it will be very, very difficult to get spiritual advantage because they are in ignorance and they lack faith. Ashraddha dhana. Shraddha, ashraddha. So because of ashraddha dhana, they are missing what Krishna wants to give. So such people have no hope of any advancement, peace and happiness in this world. Just see again, peace is possible only with spiritual knowledge, otherwise no. And without peace, happiness is impossible. So Krishna is telling, not only in this world, in the next world also, peace and happiness will not be available to those who lack faith. So one should follow great acharyas and develop faith in scripture. We have to see how the Mahajanas are living their life. How with great faith in God these acharyas are living. We have to see the scriptures, how they describe the lives of these acharyas. And in that way, we should develop faith and we should progress in devotional service. So next. 41. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna sanshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya. So how to become free from karmic bondage with the help of jnana? Because we are all bound by past karma. How jnana will set me free? So what should I do? Once you get the jnana, that I am simply part and parcel of Krishna and I am his eternal servant, then what you will start doing? All your duties you will perform as a service to Krishna for Krishna's pleasure, and you will renounce the desire to enjoy the fruits of your action. So in this way you become free from the reaction because you are not working for yourself, you are not looking for sense enjoyment, and you are only looking for the pleasure of Krishna, and in that way the karmic bonds are destroyed. And this transcendental knowledge will destroy whatever doubts are lingering in your heart, and once the doubts are destroyed, you become eligible for the highest benefit that Krishna wants to give. In this way, you become situated in the true self. And what is the true self? Our eternal soul is the eternal servant of Krishna. So that is situated in the true self. Once you know I am eternally servant of Krishna, then all the work you do will not bind you. No reactions will come because whatever work you do for the pleasure of Krishna, it merges in transcendence. If you recollect what we learned in our last class. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. We saw that beautiful shloka and I quoted Srila Prabhupada as the best example of that shloka. If you do all your work in spiritual knowledge as an offering to Krishna, then your work becomes spiritualized. Your body becomes spiritualized. And the materials that you use in your work, they become spiritualized. And you are guaranteed to go back to the spiritual kingdom. So this is what is mentioned here. So Arjuna is asking, Krishna, you have told me all this. Now what should I do? What should I do? This is what Arjuna has to ask. Then the answer comes. 42. Tasmadajnana sambhutam hristam jnanasinatmanah chitvainam samshayam yogam athishtottishta bharata. O Bharata, all your doubts concerning yoga arise from ignorance. Destroy these doubts by the sword of knowledge and fight. This is how Krishna is concluding. Your doubts are caused by ignorance of the heart. Destroy it by the weapon of knowledge. I have given you the weapon of knowledge now. So use it and destroy the ignorance in the heart. And once you destroy the ignorance, what you have to do? Stand up and fight this war. You become situated in yoga. What is this yoga? By knowing that I am a servant of Krishna, you are united with Krishna in yoga. Okay? Krishna is my Supreme Lord. I am his eternal servant. That means you are linking yourself with Krishna. You are no longer working independently. You are working as a servant of Krishna by linking yourself with him. Now all your work is service to Krishna. That way you have become an instrument of Krishna, and that is called yoga. Becoming instrument of Krishna, using your mind, intelligence, senses, body, everything in the service of Krishna. No selfish interest anymore. That means you are no longer separate from Krishna. You are united with Krishna. And that is called yoga. So yoga does not mean merging into the body of Krishna. That is nonsense understanding. Real understanding is merging with Krishna by becoming his instrument. By doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna. Like a part will serve the whole. In that mode we have to serve. So Arjuna is told by Krishna, so stand up and fight this war by becoming my instrument. This is the conclusion of this chapter. So Krishna is talking about Sanatana Yoga in this chapter. Sanatana Yoga consists of 2 yajnas. What are the 2 yajnas? One is sacrifice of material possessions. Second is working in spiritual knowledge. Okay, so these are the 2 broad categories of yajna. First is sacrificing of material possessions. Within that, you have 2 subcategories. In the initial period, you are performing your yajna, sacrifice, with material desires. You are offering yajna to demigods, you are offering yajna for Brahman. Either you want to enjoy in this material world, in this world, or you want to go to heavenly planets, or you want to become liberation. All these are desires. With these desires, if you perform sacrifices, that is inferior. But then you perform, when you reach a higher level, you perform the sacrifice without material desire. That is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. Nishkama Karma Yoga. That is a recommended form of sacrifice. By doing Nishkama Karma Yoga, you will be connected to the spiritual knowledge. Continuously working in Nishkama Karma Yoga, you will be connected to the spiritual wisdom. And in that spiritual wisdom, you will first know your true self. By performing continuously Nishkama Karma Yoga, you will understand, I am Brahman. I am Brahman. I am a spirit soul. But a higher knowledge is knowing the Supreme Lord and knowing yourself as a servant of the Supreme Lord. That is even higher knowledge. So you can see progressively we are rising. First with material desires, we do material yajna. Then we do the same yajna without material desire as a duty. Then as we go higher, we get spiritual knowledge, and then we get knowledge of the soul. And ultimately, we realize the soul as simply part and parcel of Krishna. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. So this is how the thing is concluded. So, how to advance in Krishna consciousness? I am summarizing it here. So how to remove the ignorance of the self and God? We are in ignorance. We are thinking we are the body and we have no idea of God. So how to remove this ignorance? 2 ways are there. First way is directly enter into devotional service by taking association of devotees. Okay. Directly we enter into devotional service with devotee association. This is perfect, direct path. This is like entering into the elevator. It's a 100 floor building, and you enter into the ground floor, go into the lift, press 100, and then zoom, it goes to the 100th floor. That is direct entry into devotional service. Most fortunate people who develop faith by hearing the message of Krishna, they enter into devotional service. And along with devotees, they perform devotional service. They convert their whole life into devotional service to Krishna, and they directly go back to Krishna, because every one of their activities is performed for the pleasure of Krishna. But for people who lack faith, then we give an indirect path. So that is gradual acceptance of principles of Krishna consciousness through sacrifices. What is sacrifice? Regulated action. Why we say regulated action? We don't work for our sense gratification. Even though my mind and senses are constantly telling, I want sense gratification. But we say, no, I will follow the Vedic path and I will regulate my life as recommended in the Vedas. So that way, gradually you will accept the principles of Krishna consciousness. By regulating your life. So immediately what should come to your mind? Varnashrama. Varnashrama is a regulated society. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Everybody is given rules. Because Brahmana is an advanced soul, more rules are given to them. They have to follow more strict rules. Shudra, being not very evolved, he is given very liberal rules. But still he has got rules. He has to follow them. Maximum rules for Brahmanas, least rules for Shudras, and in between for Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. But the life is regulated. They cannot live whimsically. So mankind should give up this whimsical living. Today I want to go to a movie. Today I want to go to a club. Today I want to simply chat with my friends. Today I don't want to wake up early. I want to sleep till noon. Today I don't want to sleep in the night. I want to binge watch some serial or cinema. All this willful, whimsical thinking. I want to do, so I will do. Without thinking about consequences, that is not permitted. So, gradual process of advancement also means you have to somewhere start regulating your senses and start organizing your life on the lines indicated by the Vedas. So this is the second part. Under this you get so many categories. First you do sacrifice to demigods. Demigods. But who are the demigods? They are the authorized representatives of Krishna. So by doing sacrifice to demigods, that also goes to Krishna, but this is an indirect path. Krishna does not recommend, but still better to do sacrifice to demigod than simply doing sense gratification. You remember in this chapter, that's how we started, no? Krishna said in Karma Yoga, Krishna said, you have to perform sacrifices to demigods. That's chakra, yajna chakra. So like that. Then another kind of sacrifice is done to the Brahman. Beyond the demigods, you have Brahman. Brahman means nirguna, nirakha. So to that Brahman, one offers sacrifices. Then third type, sacrifice in celibacy. One practices strict celibacy, complete control of the senses. That is another kind of sacrifice. Denying the senses whatever they want to enjoy in this world. Complete celibacy. By being celibate, the person will completely surrender his life to higher knowledge, to learn the scriptures from the Guru, like that. Sacrifice in celibacy. Same way in householder life also, one can be celibate. That means one will have sex only for producing Krishna conscious children. One will have sex with one's own wife under controlled conditions only for producing Krishna conscious children. That's all. No other sex. He will not look at women outside home. And even with his wife, he will have a very regulated union. So that is called another sacrifice. That is sacrifice in householder life. So controlling the senses. We remember the example of kurma, tortoise. Just like the tortoise, whenever there is external attraction for the senses, we have to control the senses, draw them inward. That is a sacrifice. Similarly, Ashtanga Yoga, that is also a mystic yoga, that is also called a sacrifice. Because pranayama, pratyahara, asana, all these things are controlling the mind and senses from going outward. Controlling the body to make it sit in one place, controlling the breathing, controlling the mind, controlling the senses, and ultimately meditating on God. So that is Ashtanga Yoga, that is also sacrifice. Penance, accepting a very difficult life, not eating opulent food, only eating enough to be alive, not sleeping too much, not sleeping too little, observing vratas like Chaturmasya, Chandrayana, like that, fasting on Ekadashi days, these different kinds of penances. And foregoing material possessions, that is Dravyamaya Yajna, you remember. We give charity in different ways. That's another kind of yajna. Study of Vedas, Nididhyasana Yajna. Veda, studying the Vedas. Instead of studying some nonsense novels and crime thrillers and all that, you apply yourself to the study of Vedas. So that is a yajna. And ultimately, being part of Varnashrama Dharma itself is a yajna. So please remember, Varnashrama institution is a yajna. So the whole society is organized as a yajna. So ultimately from this chapter, what we understand is the entire arrangement what God intended for this world, for human beings, is to live a life of yajna. If we don't willingly accept yajna, we are going down to be animals in future lives, and our life will become full of suffering in ignorance, because ignorance and suffering are non-different. If we are full of ignorance, we are full of suffering. So this is the conclusion. So what is the main purpose of all sacrifices? Self-realization only. To know oneself as eternal servant of God. That is the purpose of all sacrifice. So what else Krishna is trying to say? Gita is the highest scripture. So we should have faith and we should study Gita or any other bona fide scripture. For a Christian, okay, apply yourself to the Bible, but study it with the help of good Christians. Christians who have really understood what God wants from us. Good understanding. Such guide should be there. Bona fide guide and bona fide scripture we should have. If you can't study Gita, then you can study Bible. But the mood should be the same, to offer yourself as a sacrifice to God for His pleasure. So under bona fide spiritual master, coming in eternal Guru Parampara, we should serve and we should strictly follow their instructions. We should serve the master in complete surrender. And finally, we should be very careful about self-interested people who deviate from the bona fide path for self-profit. We should be very careful with those people, because in the name of seeking out a guru, we cannot surrender to cheaters, right? We want teachers, not cheaters. So we have to be extra careful in this area. So ultimately, we have to identify our genuine spiritual master and surrender to him and get all the wisdom from him. That way our life becomes perfect. Thank you very much. So with this our session ends. We will chant the Maha Mantra 3 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Now we can ask your questions, any doubts. So, Suma Manoj Mataji, your hand is up for a long time. Anything that you want to say?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams.
Dandavat pranam.
Prabhuji, how about the sacrifice done for the material pleasures to Lord Krishna itself? Will it be considered as a how is it taken?
So, sacrifice means giving up sense gratification for a future benefit. So, you remember in the 3rd chapter itself, we were told that when the Lord sent human beings to this material world, He also sent the demigods and He also sent sacrifices. So, He said, please recognize a higher authority. That is where the sacrifice enters. Please understand that you are not independent in this world. Independently, you cannot do anything. You are dependent on higher forces. So the devatas are giving you sunshine, they are giving you rain, they are allowing the crops to grow, they are maintaining your health, they are in charge of the seasons, they are in charge of your breathing, everything they are controlling. So what you are getting in your life, you offer it to them in sacrifice. So this is the process, formula that Krishna has given to initiate faith in higher forces. Higher forces are in charge of this material creation. Nobody should claim, I am a self-made man. Impossible. We came here with nothing. Unless the mother breastfed us, we would not have survived only. How can anybody claim to be self-made? Whatever intelligence we have, whatever physical fitness we have, whatever facilities we have around us, everything is a blessing from God. So this is the starting point of any kind of sacrifice. Without connecting with the scriptures, we don't enter into anything spiritual. We don't enter into anything spiritual. Below that, we are in the animal existence. If we don't connect ourselves with the spiritual knowledge, we are in animal existence. Yes, within animal existence, the crow is also there, the lion is also there, the tiger is also there. They are all in different levels within the animal existence. So somebody in similar way, in a human being, somebody may get greater benefits by using his IQ to work hard. Okay, so somewhere the faith is coming in. Instead of instant sense gratification, if I look for a future sense gratification, I am making some progress towards Shraddha. That is the only good thing there. But until we connect with the scriptures, the spiritual progression does not start. Some kind of faith, in future chapters we will see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will talk about faith in Tamoguna also is there, faith in Rajoguna, faith in Sattoguna. So they have different values. Tamoguna faith is not good. So if I have Tamoguna kind of faith, that will not produce good results for me. So the faith has to become elevated. For that we have to connect with Varnashrama Dharma or with the scriptures. Today Varnashrama Dharma is not there. At least you have to connect with the scriptures. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams.
So if there are no more questions, we shall close the session. I have sent you the notes for both this session and the previous session together. I hope you all have received it. So next week we shall take up 5th chapter. Once again, I request all of you that this Gita knowledge is not to be simply heard this way and go out that way. It should not happen. Please start practicing something in your life daily. Daily. That is important. When I say daily, that means you are becoming regulated in your life. When you become regulated in your life by having faith in the scriptures, your spiritual life has started. But if you are willful, whimsical, today I will do, tomorrow I will not do, today I will do one mala of japa, tomorrow I will not do japa, that's not good. High time we start regulating our life. Please remember, Kali Yuga is the most unregulated age because everywhere around us there are temptations. Like I briefed in the beginning of the class, somebody wants to sleep till night, somebody wants to keep awake all night. All kinds of nonsense is going on. People think no consequences for my actions. So somewhere I request all of you to please start practicing Krishna consciousness. Like start offering what you cook to Krishna and then accept only prasada. Stop eating what is not prasada. Give up onion, garlic to the extent possible. Start worshipping Krishna on a daily basis. Wake up early in the morning, take a good bath, keep clean, wear clean clothes, and then come first to Krishna and offer your Dandavat Pranams. Offer one agarbatti or offer one ghee lamp, offer some bhoga to the Lord. Have a nice altar. Have great pleasure in maintaining the altar nicely. Like if you think altar as a home of your deity, how nice it should be. And offer the best ingredients in worship, the best agarbatti, the best oil, not some contaminated mixed oil, what they call waste furnace oil, something like that. That is not to be offered to God. Please understand, if I am a part, He is the whole. So what excellent ingredients should be offered to them? So try to develop this mentality. Read a few slokas of Gita every day, meditate on them, pick up some regular habits and start changing your life so that by the time we complete this course, we are now completed 4 chapters, another 10 chapters will fly. We will complete this within, I think, exactly 1 year. 1 year we should be able to complete. So in that sense, by that time, we should be able to see some changes in us. Then we can build on that. But if after listening to 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, if nothing has changed in me, then I have lost some valuable opportunity. Please try to bring changes. The most important change is start japa, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Every day, try to make it at least 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, or 4 altogether in the morning, whichever way. Try to implement these things. And gradually, then your understanding will also become deeper. When you are changing your life on the instructions of Krishna, Krishna becomes happy. He will reveal more to you. He will reveal more and more to you. Even when I say the same thing, you will understand it in a deeper level. Supposing I use the same words and I speak to you, but your understanding will become deeper. This is the mystery of spiritual knowledge. The more receptive we are, more knowledge we gain. So, by demonstrating your seriousness to Krishna, by making modifications in your lifestyle based on Bhagavad Gita, you become qualified for higher knowledge to be revealed to you. And when higher knowledge is revealed, Achirenadi Gachari, you get peace very quickly. Your mind will become peaceful. You will no longer be disturbed. You will get the results. And when you get the results, you will be more motivated to accept more into your life. Like that, that becomes a transcendental competition. You want to do more for Krishna. Krishna gives you more benefits. And then you feel, oh, Krishna has given me so much. I want to reciprocate. Like that, this transcendental competition will take you all the way back to Krishna. Thank you so much. So we'll meet again next week. Hare Krishna. If you want to share your realizations or what practices you have implemented in your life, you can kindly put it in the group, or you can also message it to me separately. If you don't want to put it in the group, you can message to me separately. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavane